Coming up next, he was a Green Beret, he was also an NFL player, and now he is a part of the Discovery Channel series, Survive the Raft. That's right, Nate Boyer will be joining us right here on Sidewalks Entertainment. So don't go anywhere. From the Discovery Channel series, Survive the Raft, I'd like to welcome Nate Boyer to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hi, Nate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, Lori. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your life before Survive the Raft, how you became a Green Beret, how you became an NFL player, how you got a part in the film Den of Thieves with Gerard Butler. I'd imagine that you have some pretty amazing stories and experiences.
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I wanted to be a professional athlete my whole life growing up, and I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a player in the NFL one day. And ironically, I never played football growing up, so it was a big regret of mine. So after high school, I no scholarship offers in baseball or basketball. Moved down to Southern California, worked on a fishing boat, did all kinds of odd jobs. And then 9/11 happened. And eventually that led me to the military. So I became a Green Beret and spent about 10 years total in the military. And then I went to college much later in life. I was a 29-year-old freshman at the University of Texas, and I walked onto the football team and found a way on the field and eventually found a position where I could play and had an opportunity at the next level with the Seattle Seahawks. So then I got to play in the NFL. And when that ended, and I lost, the camouflage, and I lost the jersey, I was searching for purpose and meaning, and and I had a lot of passions, and one of those was working in film and television and storytelling. So it started out with acting, and I got the opportunity to land a few acting gigs, and was fortunate to do that. And as you mentioned, Den of Thieves was one of those films. But this opportunity, this show, this series, Survive the Raft with Discovery Channel, it really brought together all these experiences that I had, and being in these different locker rooms with people from all walks of life, that don't always necessarily see eye to eye, but are willing to put that stuff aside to go out there and win the game, you know what I mean, or be successful on the battlefield. That kind of stuff is very interesting to me because that's a big part of my life. So that's what happened on this show, and that's how this opportunity came about to host Survive the Raft, because I'd kind of been in similar situations in some ways to what these people experience out there on the raft itself.
Wow. So somewhere along the way, along with everything that you've always wanted to do and your passions and everything, now along with sports announcer Jay Glazer, you're also one of the co-founders of the nonprofit Merging Vets and Players. Tell me a little bit about Merging Vets and Players.
Yeah, Merging Vets and Players, we call it MVP for short. We bring together combat vets and former professional athletes, and we help them find purpose and identity when they lose the uniform. So that's something that I experienced. When I lost, like I said, those two uniforms, I didn't really know what I was going to do next. And I felt like I had all this passion, and I felt like, man, I'm 34. I got so much life to live. There's no way I've already peaked, and I'll never be great again. There's got to be something. And so many feel like that, not just vets and athletes. I think people, transitions are tough, and having to move forward, and then not only, remember where you came from and sort of leverage those skills and those things that you learned to be successful at the next level, but figuring out how to transition those skills and feeling like you're not alone, and that you can find a new tribe in a sense. All those things are important. So that's why MVP, is important. And that's why we created this organization, and people can go check that out at vetsandplayers.org if they'd like. But yeah, I mean, I think that experience, these people from, whether it's athletes, veterans, wherever these people come from who have these different perspectives, that's something that we sort of brought in and folded into this show as well. While this, Survive the Raft isn't about, MVP, it's very similar in a lot of ways because, when we conduct our huddles with MVP, we've got a portion of the day where we're circled up on these, on the wrestling mat after a good workout, and we're vulnerable with one another, and we got to share, what's going on with us and struggles and all of that, and just be open. And you get to see that similarly on Survive the Raft, where these people from different walks of life who don't always see eye to eye on things, and who, are very set in their ways maybe, and think that, well, my way is the way that works best for me. And then that's challenged, and they have to open up their aperture a bit, and understand that, there's other ways and other people that can bring special, unique skills to the table to help the group move forward.
Absolutely. So when you're not working on Survive the Raft, TV, acting, or when you're not working on MVP, what do you like to do in your free time when you're off work?
I like to challenge myself in different ways, So I got something coming up in August. I'm running 100 miles in Leadville, Colorado. It's the Leadville 100. It's a 100-mile race through the Rockies. You're up at altitude.
Wow.
It's very challenging. I've never ran that far before, but I've been training for it, just to see if I can do it, because I love to push myself to the limits, and see what's possible.
That sounds amazing. So how long have you been training for that for?
Oh, just the last 2 or 3 months, really. I mean, I've always liked to stay in good shape, and like to do different
Mhm.
things, and kind of, challenge myself physically in different ways. So, but this has been something that I've spent, really focused the last 2 or 3 months on preparing and training for. So I'm putting a lot of miles in. I just this last week, I think I put about 70 or 80 miles in. So that's something that, I get to get out there on the trails, and I don't have my phone with me, and I kind of disconnect from the world a bit. And I think that's important for all of us to do, to have those moments. You don't have to run, but doing something where we're not constantly on the devices. We've got to just like, got to separate.
Yeah, something that we're not on our phones, yeah, our screens. So, as you mentioned earlier, Discovery Channel's Survive the Raft is about a group of people from all walks of life and different cultures. They all come together and they do challenges together and see how well they can work together. So, what caught your interest in being a part of the series?
It really spoke to me because, I know what it's like to be in those locker rooms where you've got people that just think differently, and they had a different life experience. And because of that, they've got a different set of beliefs. And I
Hmm.
also know what it's like to see those people come together and put that stuff aside, to win a game, or to be successful on the battlefield, or whatever that is. And recreating that was really cool, and being a part of that again, and getting to see it in a different format, in a different way, where, you can't go home at night and separate yourself from the team. It's like you're there. It's almost like a deployment in some ways. Of course, we're not going to war here, but when you're on a deployment, I was on a special forces team with 12 people, and we are doing everything together. We we can't get away from each other, and
Hmm.
it's like you experience some really challenging and tough things, and then you experience some things that really bring you together and connect you, and you get to learn so much about these people. And it really challenges your perceptions. And I think that's what was so cool about Survive the Raft, and so important, is that that's exactly what happens. These people, these 9 people from all these different walks of life, there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. They're on this raft floating in the Pacific Ocean, and they've got challenges they've got to conduct every day. And they've got to figure out, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to come together, and keep moving forward as a group? And then they're tempted to be individuals at certain times, and to sort of betray the group. And that's tough when you know that there's a life-changing amount of money on the line. So like all these things kind of come up, and they've got to make some really hard decisions. And then they know all the while they've got millions of people that are going to be watching them do this. That kind of pressure is man, it brings out some very interesting perspectives. It brings out some very, I guess it brings to light the true people that we are, those true colors. And it's fun to watch. But I mean, more important than anything to me was watching the growth in a lot of these people, and how they were willing to change, and sort of develop as human beings, just in this short 21 days.
So, one last question before we wrap. how do you think you would have done if you were put in the same place as the rest of the crew, where you had to do some of the challenges that the crew did?
I mean, I'd like to think that I would be just fine out there. I've been through worse. I've been through tougher. No issue. Uh, the reality is, I haven't been through something like that, and I think being that vulnerable and raw and visible with who you are to the rest of the world, I don't know what that's like in that way. So I'm not sure. I would, like I said, I would love to think that would be just fine, and I would survive the raft, But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't say for sure. I wish I could, but that's what's special about the show. I mean, it really is. It challenges your own expectations and perceptions of what you think's going to happen, and you can take that lineup on episode 1 and think, oh, that person, they're all going to be just fine. The rest of them, I don't know. And then as the show goes on, your eyes are open more and more, and the twists and the turns, and the way these people are sort of in a sense, naked to us, and we have to, that they have to make these really hard decisions. Your own perceptions are challenged, and I think that's what's really unique about the show.
Well, Nate, it was such a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much. Everyone, you can watch more of Nate Boyer in Survive the Raft on the Discovery Channel. You take care, Nate.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit us at sidewalkstv.com, our YouTube channel, and don't forget to follow us on social media.